A very warm welcome, dear listener, to another episode of The Journey with M that is going to be about how different countries and cultures shape us. Our current reality is that land has been divided into countries with these hypothetical borders, and that many indigenous cultures have been erased or exploited along the way. But we will try to focus on our current reality, traveling across borders and what that does to us. So, our guest today is Anoop Kumar, who currently lives in Dubai. A very warm welcome, Anoop. Who would you say you are today, and if you'd like to share a few words of how you ended up in Dubai?
Thank you, Mona, for having me on your podcast, on your talk. Yes, I live in Dubai right now. My name is Anoop Kumar. I would consider myself to be some sort of a traveler in the sense that apart from traveling around for tourism, which I think everybody likes to do,
Mm-hmm.
I've also been fortunate enough to be working in an industry which has taken me around different parts of the world. While now I'm in Dubai for the past 3 years, if I can wind the clock back, over the past 10 years, I've lived in three different continents, four different countries. And before that, also 15 years ago, I lived in another part of the world. So, yes, there has
Yeah.
been a fair bit of exposure and travel that I've been I've been used to. I work for a shipping company, by the way, which in itself is a business where you connect the world and you see the world, right? So there has been a bit of travel in a lot of what I do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So now that you live in Dubai, Dubai is a very cosmopolitan place, and I'm guessing you find many individuals who have similar background to what you have, and we can always find people with similar cultures in Dubai, I think. But how do you cope with the fact that you're far away from your own, let's say, ancestry or roots? Or does that bother you at all?
No, it doesn't really bother me, and also in a funny way. Um, Given that I'm an Indian, there's a joke that Dubai is almost Indian, and so many of us here. But
Yeah.
it's actually truly a melting pot in the sense you could. I mean, I'll give you an example. My son goes to an international school, and I think last year when they had International Day in the school, they sent out a poster which said that that particular school had nationalities from 75 or 80 countries in that one particular school.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is truly staggering.
Yeah.
It tells you about how international the city is.
Yeah. And if we go back to before you went to Dubai, you've been to a lot of countries. Which would you say is your favorite, and which country would you say had the least impact on you?
Oh, I've lived in multiple countries. So before I moved to Dubai, I lived in Denmark for about 3 years. Prior to that, I lived in Nigeria for 3 years. And much earlier in my career, I also spent some time living in Sweden.
That's where we
So
met.
exactly, absolutely right. In 2007 or 8 was that.
Yeah.
So impact, I would say everywhere I've lived has had some positive impact on me. Everywhere I've lived has given me things that I've taken along with me in the journey. From a point of where I've lived, I would say every place has contributed.
Yeah.
Where I've traveled, again, as a tourist, I've traveled to many places. I think people nowadays have stopped counting the number of countries because everybody travels, and I think counting that doesn't make any sense. But I've been impressed by a lot of places that I've been to, be it Cape Town, which I think is a beautiful city, or Istanbul, which again is a absolute melting pot of a lot of things.
What qualities would you say you got from Istanbul or Cape Town? What sticked with you?
I think as a when I look at when I see myself as a tourist, I try to see if a place that I'm spending a particular period of time gives me varied experiences. So from a point of Cape Town, there is a beach, there is a mountain, you've got fantastic food. You drive a couple of hours, you got the wine county, as they call it. If you are into adventure sports, you can go and jump into the water. So if you can
Yeah.
just, it's not like it's not one particular spot. It's not that you are going to a ski resort and the only thing you're going to do is skiing, right? It gives you multiple choices.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's a
and that's
mix
something that I like. It's a mix of things. It's
of
a mix of things. I
nature
also
and
like to go
culinary
to
experience.
exactly. I also like to stay around in a particular place for many days, not do a trip for one day in one city and go to the next city the next day. I like to stay around, soak in a bit of the culture and so on. So I like when I spend 8 days in Cape Town or 7 days in Istanbul, I also feel you get proper reading of that city and understand what's behind it. So even Istanbul, the same thing. It's a mix of, they say, the east and the west. You've got great food, you've got history, you've got great monuments, mosques, the bridge that connects Asia to Europe.
Perfect. So we were speaking that we met in Sweden, and one of the notions that Swedes keep bringing up is that flying isn't good for the environment. And from my point of view, I think, it's when our leaders don't show by example, and they
Yeah,
don't actually, and they creating all the wars and genocides. I think we should start there. But like with that said, I always try also
that's
to travel with train when possible. But do you have that at the back of your mind when traveling?
not really. Not really. In fact, when I lived in Sweden, that was even introduced to this notion that flying could be a problem. I mean, quote unquote,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, from what I believe is that I should do my bit. I should do my 2 cents in terms of, be it pollution or be it any sort of, let's say, good deed. Give my kid the right sort of learning and upbringing. But the entire weight of saving the world is probably not on my shoulder, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, and do your best is what I would think of. As you rightly said, I think I was reading a joke which said that uh, what when an Augusta Masters golf happens or a particular Super Bowl happens in the US, there are like some thousands of private planes that take off and land, while I'm looking out of paper straw for the last 5 years trying to save
Exactly.
save plastic. But so that's not going to these things happen around the world, right? So
Yeah, I mean, if we can, why not? And also, speaking of paper straws, they put videos in buses that I take on the screens, like that we should use less water when showering and things like that. And that really, it's a good thing, but it annoys me when this is a drop
yeah,
in the ocean.
exactly. I mean, you do your bit, you do your 2 cents, and simply put, when I lived in Sweden, when I lived in Denmark later, I understood. I mean, the whole waste disposal mechanism, sorting of the waste, the way it is done, it's very clear, and it's a great lesson for the next generation also.
Of course.
They make it easier for the kids to sort out the plastic, go and drop it in the supermarket, you get some money back or you get some vouchers back. Those are smart ideas, right? So
Yeah, at least to
that
put
helps.
it
So
in
you
their
teach your
minds.
kid. Exactly. You teach your kid and say, hey, this is what you do and you don't. And if that goes to the next generation, that's live by example, right? That's what I think we
Yeah.
can do, and that's your contribution.
Yeah.
You're not in a position to influence the world, so
Yeah, I think we can with small actions, but we do our part, but not take everything on our shoulders, like you said.
yeah, do your part sincerely. Most importantly, pass it on to the next generation. You live by example, so that even if you are hosting a birthday party for your kid and his friends, ensure that they don't trash the place, they sort it out, they clean up. So then at least you are ensuring that the next gen learns it. Especially if your kid is growing up in I don't know, Dubai, for example, where there is a lot of bling, there is a lot of material consumption, very materialistic society. it's
Yeah.
it's not Copenhagen, right? It's not Copenhagen where
No.
the way a birthday party is done is different. Here it's different. So I try to imbibe the positives I've learned in Scandinavia and try to bring it here, at
Yeah.
least in my sphere of influence, and tell them this is probably the right thing to do. So
So,
again, no one's giving me points for that, but at least that's something that I like to do.
yeah. Like in many movies and books, they depict different cultures in perhaps quite a stereotypical way. But how does traveling, or how has traveling allowed you to interact with new cultures firsthand, and what's the difference? How does it break down personal prejudices and hopefully
Now
make
it helps
us
break down.
kinder?
It's absolutely helpful. I mean, the interesting thing is I'm from India, and India itself is a mini subcontinent, as they call it. So I come from a part of India where if I travel even 2 hours northwards, I will be in a part where I don't understand what they speak. Right? So we've got like 25, 30 different languages. So when I left home for the first time to do my master's in business, I went to another part of India where I was with a whole lot of people, wherein maybe I did not understand. I mean, there is a linked language, of course, they speak English, but
Yeah.
there are languages that I don't understand at all completely. So they could speak in front of me, I wouldn't get it. So you also, so within the country, just purely by going and studying in a different part of India, spending time, I could break down a lot of notions, even prejudices that I had about people from a particular part of the country, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So those who met me would have had a different thought about what people from south of India are like, and maybe I helped them change it. And I also had a different opinion at the end of those 2 years about what people from other parts of India were. So that same thing applies when I left my country and I first, say, came to Denmark for a training program. Then I started living in Sweden. It completely opened up my eyes to people from different cultures, and not just Scandinavians. My organization had people from around the world.
Yeah.
So how does the Latin American person operate? So my thought process was different, and you interact with them, then you learn something. So that's the beauty of travel and interaction. So it helped me a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
So, how would you say Anoop's personality would have been different if he hadn't traveled so much?
well, I cannot pinpoint that, but I can only imagine that if I was only completely in my own small world, then I would have been poorer from a point of experiences that I gathered, right?
Yeah.
Would I? I mean, I know a lot of people who have not traveled, or who, by not because of choice but by circumstances, who have to live in one particular part of the country because that's where their family was, or they simply couldn't afford. They're not terrible people. You know what I mean? Their worldview has not expanded, but they still do the honest living, and they're good where they are.
Yeah.
So so if I look back and see if I've stayed back, yes, I would have been poorer from a point of lack of experiences, from a point of understanding multiple cultures, getting the best of those cultures, which I think has helped me become much more rounded person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that is the biggest point that I can think of, that I would have been definitely poorer from a point of experiences, life lessons, learnings, understanding what you think is a luxury could be basic for somebody, and vice versa.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So yeah.
Like I said in another episode, I'm exploring my own culture and heritage now more. I guess we do that when we get older, but there's a
Yeah.
verse that now came up and I Googled the translation, and I think it relates to traveling. It's a verse from the Quran that says, "O humanity, indeed, we created you from a male and a female and made you into peoples and tribes so that you can get to know one another. Surely the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous among you. Allah is truly all knowing and all aware. So I like
That's
this
really nice. Yeah,
yeah, I like it that we were created different so that we can get to know each other. And
absolutely. That's the beauty of knowing people and traveling, and just
yeah,
opening up your eyes and ears.
imagine if we were all the same. It wouldn't be so interesting to live.
Mm.
So you said that when in India you had different areas that spoke different dialects and perhaps different languages altogether, you wouldn't
Yeah,
understand some of them.
totally different.
And I'm thinking something we have in common, like body language, is the smile. And in the global south, I think we see it more.
Yeah.
How would you say smiling or witnessing, kindness through a smile breaks barriers, and how or what would you use instead of a smile in the north?
That's a good question. When I moved to what we call as the north, to say Sweden and Denmark, I also moved in the middle of the winter. So as it is, people are going about their lives and they are not their cheerful best.
Yeah.
But I still remember the fact that I was woefully unprepared for the winter. I came from a part of India which never has a winter.
Yeah.
So I was in Gothenburg and I was just wearing a suit which is not enough. It was minus 15 or something. So I had strangers walking up to me and saying that, maybe you need to get something better than this.
More
You'll
layers. Yeah.
players. And it was strangers on the tram. It was people in my office, and they all were native Scandinavians. They all were, and
Yeah.
maybe they didn't smile, but it was definitely a concern that they had, and it
Yeah.
did not stop them from. Not, I mean, they did not know me. It did not stop them from walking up to me. I mean, and telling me that this is not going to help.
Yeah.
So
That's beautiful, this caring.
absolutely. So as I said, it was not a smile. It was a clear cut word of advice, which is good. And at the same time, if when I moved to Nigeria, which is on the other end of the spectrum, not a prosperous nation by any means, but there, there is no dearth of a smile. Your driver or your the building security guard or your nanny, everybody is absolutely bright in the
Shining.
morning, shining in the morning. In fact, one of the most common ways in which the people greet you, apart from saying a good morning in the morning, is they will ask you, "How was your night?" They come, "Good morning. How was your night?" They will say, "Good morning. Did you have a good evening?" So they're very very invested to know how you've been, you
Yeah.
know,
Like your
and they
recent
come and say that with
experience.
a absolutely, and they come up with a very bright smile in the morning, and then you think, yeah, okay, the reality of the economy of that place. You know that these people are not as lucky as me in terms of having a solid job or in a multinational company, but that
Yeah.
doesn't prevent them from being cheerful in the morning. They're not cold. They're
Yeah.
very warm. They're very bright.
I love that.
So I mean, the smile obviously helps because just brightens the place up. But even in Scandinavia, a nod in the morning or a polite good morning in the lift is nice. The
Yeah.
smile doesn't come up, but you know that the other person is acknowledging you and he's not ignoring you.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to show care, and speaking
Absolutely,
of
absolutely.
care and love and respect for the elders, how would you say you've noticed differences in treating elders in different cultures?
It's a good question. I've not pondered over it, but when I think back, I know that in my culture, where I come from in India, it's almost. I mean, you grow up being taught by your parents that you need to respect your elders. There is a. I mean, we bow down and touch our elders' feet to take their blessings. It's very common in India. So I mean, you just do it. It's very common where you walk up an elderly person, your relative, your uncle, your grandparent, or it could be a teacher. It could be 50 years old, but if in front of you, if a 70-year-old is there who's your former teacher, you would instinctively bend down and touch their feet and seek a blessing. So
Wow,
we have
they
grown up.
definitely
We have
deserve
grown up
that.
exactly. So we have grown up with that sort of a culture being taught,
Yeah.
and you see it everywhere, right? So that's pretty natural. But at the same time, when I was in Europe, I've seen kids call their grandparents by their name, which when I grew up, was absolute, was no. But again, I realized soon enough that that does not come from a place of disrespect. That comes from culture. It's
Yeah.
common. The parent doesn't take offense. The grandchild is calling him or her by name.
Yeah.
Ultimately, everybody's happy, right? So
It's the same with
it,
doctors. Like in Egypt, we say doctor something, and here
yeah,
they don't say that.
exactly. So I as I felt, unless you are in the inner circle of of a Scandinavian or a European family and see the dynamics, you can only observe it from a distance.
Yeah.
I would see them walking on their own, carrying their bags, carrying their groceries. They could be 70, 80, 90. So the culture also teaches them to be independent from way too early, and they carry it with them all the way to their end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I have
The,
seen in my culture the elder people after a point they become very dependent. That's another thing that me and my wife keep talking. We say, learn from the the quote unquote oldies of Denmark. They seem to be absolutely on their own. They have planned for their life properly. Maybe their kids are somewhere else, but they are absolutely fine. The system takes care of them. They do it themselves, right? So that's something that we would like to be like that at some point of time, not be so dependent.
yeah. I think it comes with both benefits and disadvantages. Like
Yeah.
interdependence also brings love and connection and care. And
Yes.
like I love that grandparents, for example, can enjoy company with grandchildren, and it becomes
Exactly.
like a small community. And speaking of children, now when you imagine your own children 10 years from now, what would make you hopefully smile about their future?
Well, that's a big question. I mean, there are times when I feel pretty desolate thinking about how the future is going to be purely from whatever is happening in the world around us.
Yeah,
You,
it's not.
I mean, if you just look at the last 8 9 years, there has been a COVID, and there has been wars, and there has been genocides. It's just been one terrible thing after the other, and
Yeah.
even now, not as if every day you wake up and see great news, right? So, what I fear is that the world's going to get only tougher, and that's something I hope is not the case. But then, as I said at the beginning, I cannot change the world. What I can do is to ensure that, hey, at least within my small circle, which is my family and the extended family, try to ensure that you give the next generation the best of learnings, equip them with knowledge, equip them with education, which will
Yeah.
help them
Yeah.
at the same time also teach them about handling money earlier in life. I think those are things that we don't. I would have wished somebody told me about this much earlier. Teach them
Definitely.
about finance. Teach them about how to handle money. Teach them about. You can't force them on anything, but just ensure that you build the right sort of groundwork and path for them, and ensure that they stay on that. That is what I would do. I mean, and hopefully they are ready for whatever is coming, because there's been a whole lot of nonsense that's happening around the world, and
Yeah.
I hope it stops at some point of time. But I mean, you and me do not know what
Amen.
the future holds.
Yeah. How would you hope your child handles these challenges or setbacks?
Well, the only way you can hope them is that they handle it to the best of their abilities, and be positive and creative wherever they can, and and not let it bog them down, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
and that depends.
Create new
That depends.
ways.
Yeah, that depends on how you prepare them for it.
Yeah.
Um,
What values
Sorry, good.
or traditions do you hope you've passed down to them that can help them?
I think the most important thing is that whatever you do, wherever you get, there has to be humbleness. There has to be an acknowledgement of your origins. I think we are from the parts of the world where, with every passing generation, we get better in terms of I mean, I have a better access to things than my parents, and they had better access than their grandparents, and so on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that same thing, my son would probably have better access to things, but never forget your roots, or never forget the fact that maybe his parents or grandparents or great grandparents had to go through things so
Yeah.
that they are there at this point of time. You know what I mean?
So they don't take it for
They
granted.
Yeah, unless you tell them, they won't understand that, because they've grown up in a different world.
Yeah.
So we are privileged. For that, I know what my folks had to go through. Similarly, my son is privileged. He also needs to know a few things that we do for him.
Yeah.
So that's what I would want the person to do. Be aware, be humble. Don't take things for granted.
Beautiful.
Importance putting in the hard work. Importance of ensuring that education is critical. I mean, you can do whatever, but your first 15 years are formative. That educational foundation is critical. I mean, if you see, there's a joke that in India you don't have too many sports people, but even the popular sports people, you will see they would have all done proper schooling. They would have a engineering degree, or they would have a they have because they've been told by their parents, you do whatever you want, but ensure that you finish your school, finish your college. So
Yeah.
the foundation is strong. You ensure that you give them the exposure to things, exposure to travel and culture, and the good and bad. I think they will pick it up. Don't spoil them. At the same time, don't be.
Yeah.
It's a fine balance.
Definitely. And just one last question.
Hmm.
What do you wish your children would say about their childhood when they grow up?
Oh, I wish that they say that. Okay, let me put it this way. So, if you ask me what do I remember about my childhood, I only remember the positive and happy things. Of course, there have been issues where I could have done something differently, or I wish something happened differently. But when you look back, it's all nice and positive and bright and cheery. Not many people have that,
No,
right?
true.
That's the only thing I hope, that
They
the
remember
person
the good moments.
remember the good moments, and create ample number of good moments, so that a lot of good moments to choose from. That
Yeah.
is the thing. I mean, if you have only one to choose from, then that's not so nice. If you have a lot to choose from, that means that you've had a great period growing up. That's how I see it as. And it doesn't necessarily mean display of wealth or display of affluence. It is not. I mean, I grew up pretty much what we called back in India as a lower middle class. So it's not about um, it's about experiences. I mean,
Richness
for
of
all the travel,
experience.
yeah, for all the travel talk that I'm telling you, it's funny. My first ever flight that I got into was when I was 21 years old. First ever international trip I took was when I was 23 years old, right? So
Yeah.
it's not as if I grew up with a silver spoon or whatever, but I was a very happy kid because my parents were able to give me that. So same thing I want for my child, that it's not whether he had access to gadgets or I took him on a business class flight or whatever. That doesn't matter. It's all about moment experiences. That is what is critical.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Anoop. And is there anything
Thank you.
else you would like to add?
I think it was a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed the questions that you put forth, made me think, and I was happy with the conversation.
Me too, Anoop. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. And thank you to all our listeners. And see you next time on The Journey with M.